A few weeks into the pandemic, I started calling the task Dishifus. People were screaming about it on the internet. Where did all these dishes come from? How did they keep coming back? After an irrational argument with my partner, a rule was laid out. No dishes in the sink before we go to bed. To quickly go for another metaphor, 2020 has been a chrysalis. The shell outside is chaos, also known as life, and the people sheltering in place are becoming stronger for it. Case in point, I now have a rule about how I clean dishes, which I follow, more or less. Just 3 years ago, I got kicked out of my old place for not being clean enough in the kitchen. The new place I moved let the dishes stack high. No one cared, until of course you needed a dish, at which point you cleaned it. Maybe it was that I didn't care. Or at least I didn't until I needed a dish which I had likely left dirty myself. Rice glued to saucepans, sauce hardened into a mold growing on old rice, just letting it all stack up. I moved out of that place last week. I cursed myself for having to clean so much stuff out. I cursed myself for having to load all this shit into boxes and to pack it all into a van and to return the next day to vacuum and clean. And the worst part was that I knew that all of the shit that was in the storage container where I left it was immaterial to me. It could all go to Goodwill or the dump, and I wouldn't care. Or I would for a day or two. And then I'd forget or shrug it off. I was lucky to be the person I am now, cleaning out that place. The person I was, the person who lived in that apartment, would never have seen it through to the end. Only the man himself, King Dishifus, could have understood the freedom that followed those hours of toil. It was comforting to recognize that. It was comforting to close the door on an apartment's worth of accumulated detritus. It was comforting to lock the person who had accumulated all of that into a wooden tomb, surrounded by his least prized possessions, a ghost and his garbage. I walked away feeling much lighter.